The final type of active love is the love of Jupiter, which is what I call charitable love. Okay? This is love where something is given, that's useful, with no exchange, with no return whatsoever. Sometimes hard love is charitable love, but usually it's not. Usually charitable love feels good, and it's useful, but only to one of the people in the equation. Okay? And it's another kind of love that's very easy to get confused. We have to be very clear in our definitions. It's very easy to confuse this type of love with manipulation. It's very easy to confuse this kind of love with, or to confuse manipulation with this kind of love. Or no, it's easy, to confuse this type of love as manipulation. So for instance, somebody who truly has a charitable nature is giving to you, and you're like, what do they want from me? I know they're trying to manipulate you. What, you know? I was doing a lot for someone at one point, and they were actually like, you know, how are you trying to use me? I'm like, I'm not. I just think you have some potential here, and I'm being charitable to see it occur, you know? But people have been through all kinds of rough things. And so sometimes when they receive charitable love, they can only see it as a manipulation of some sort. Like, what do you want? Why are you being nice to me? What are you trying to do? You know? And that's not charitable love, if it is a manipulation. But sometimes it might feel that way. So there's two important aspects of charitable love: the giving of the charitable love and the receiving of the charitable love. And both of those aspects have to be true love. Okay? First of all, we can only give charitable love if we have an abundance of something. Okay? If I give someone money, and not having that money is going to affect my life, if it's going to matter to me to give that much money away, there's a part of me that's going to want a return on that investment, and it's not charitable love. It's the pretense of charitable love when it's looking for Venus love, a two-way street that feels good. So when you're in the position of giving charitable love, you have to really just ask yourself, can I just give this freely? Is this truly a gift because I have abundance? Or am I pretending it's a gift because I want something from them? In which case, you're trying to manipulate Venusian love. Okay, so be really clear. If you're giving charity, it comes out of abundance. Okay? The other reason giving charity might not really be charitable love is when a person does it because they feel like if they don't, they're a bad person. I have to prove I'm wonderful, so I'll give the charitable love. Oh, if I don't give this charitable love to a person, it means I'm evil. No. And then you give it, that's not love. That's another form of self-abuse. That's another form of, I don't recognize my value as a human being, and I have to constantly prove it in unhealthy ways. Okay? So charitable love only comes out of abundance. Giving out of abundance is a wonderful feeling. There is a reward for charitable love. It has nothing to do with the return from the other. It's the feeling of abundance flowing through one. And charitable love creates abundance. When you give charity, more comes through you. So if you give $100, somehow you get $200 more. Okay? That's why charity in the old books is one of the main ways to help your bad planets give you better results. Okay? It opens up this channel for abundance to flow through you. All right? So, you know, it's a wonderful thing to give charity. It does feel good. It does get you more from God and from the feeling of charity. It's a beautiful feeling. But it's only there if you have the abundance. And how do you have the abundance? You find something where you have love. By having sustainable, committable love as a foundation. By having hard love that makes you into a better person, you become a person of greater abundance. And then you're more capable of charitable love. That's true charitable love. Okay? And as you do that charitable love, it creates more flow through you. And charitable love can be of any type. It can be material, where you are supporting someone financially, okay, because of a good reason. We'll talk about good reasons later. It could be emotional love, where you have enough joy and happiness within yourself that you can, so that you can be there for them emotionally with no need of a return, because you just have enough that you can make them feel good, and they don't need to make you feel good back. Okay, you're full of joy enough, you're happy enough that you have it to give. Okay, and if you're spiritually abundant, if you're full of wisdom and you're full of knowledge, you can give that to other people. Okay, and this is really intricate. One of the things I see a lot amongst astrologers is this game of, it's my idea, it's mine, I figured it out first. And someone will say something on YouTube, and then a week later they'll say, so-and-so said the very same thing on their YouTube channel. They're copying me. And there's this game of who owns what. And this is not coming from spiritual abundance. This is coming from the need of these people to have more sustainable, committable self-love. They haven't achieved the point of abundance. When a person gets to the point of wisdom, where they actually are, have an abundance of wisdom, when someone copies them and writes a book on something they say, they're like, I'm glad it's in the world. It's a gift I give to the world. I'm glad someone else can benefit from it. Sure, go ahead, write about this in your book, this thing you learned from me. If you want to credit me, sure, it doesn't really matter. Because the person has so much wisdom, so much spirituality, that it doesn't matter if somebody takes some and somebody takes some and somebody has some. Because they always have more. There's just more goodness coming through them. So abundance is a beautiful state of being. And we can be abundant on different levels. We might have a person who's spiritually abundant, who has nothing to give you materially at all. You might have a person who's emotionally abundant, who has nothing materially or spiritually to give you. Okay? So understand, we can give freely out of our own abundance without of one type and not have the other type. It all depends on where we're abundant. Okay? So I hope you can understand how wonderful abundant love is to the giver. Okay? The giving of charity, the giving of abundance is easier than receiving it. This is the real trick to it. It's easier than receiving it. Okay? When a person receives abundance, they have to do something very difficult and very important. Okay? When they receive charity, they have to suffer this thing called humility. Oh, do we hate that? You know, when you try to share your abundance with people and they slam the door in your face, whether it's emotional abundance, spiritual abundance, or whatever, you say, hey, I have this wonderful idea for you to work with that you can use to spread life, and the door goes smashing in your face. It's like, well, how dare you give me something? Don't you think I can do it? It comes from such separate idea of thinking. There's just me struggling along this world. It's not how it works. We're this interconnective life form of every organism, every entity on earth having an interconnected relationship to the divine. And the divine is pulling us towards him, pulling us out of the ocean, out of the fish net, trying to pull us to heaven. And there are some fish that are closer to the top of the net who are paddling their wings to try to make the net lighter, the net lighter for God. Those fish are Buddha, Krishna, Jesus, Yogananda. Then there's some other fish that are smaller, but they're trying to swim up and help God. And there's some fish on the bottom, they're just trying to swim the wrong direction, on the bottom of the net. But there's this entire pull where the reality is we all are dependent on charity. Every one of us is dependent on charity. The idea that, I don't need the help, how dare you insult me? Oh, that is such a limiting, egocentric idea. There's no truth in that. We all need help. Jesus had help. Yogananda had help. Krishna, he's one of the 3 or 4 people who didn't need help. Okay, he was fully what they call Paratma, which was fully God consciousness, no individual being in him. But every other guru, every other avatar who was born with individuality in them needed help from a force greater than them, a lighter force than them, or a heavier force of more light, is the right way of saying it. So to accept charity requires humility. Wow, I really do need help. A lot of people can't accept that, but it's a gift from the universe, charity. It's a Jupiter thing, it's a gift of God. Somebody giving you charity is God saying, see, I'm invested in you. That's all charity is. God saying, I'm invested in you. And you're like, don't invest in me, buddy. That's what people do sometimes. Why would you want to invest in me? We have to have the self-worth of realizing that, wow, God is willing to invest in me. Life is willing to invest in me. So I will accept the charity gratefully and humbly. I'll cherish the gift. I'll move forward with the gift. And then we have a beautiful two-way street of charitable love. It's useful. It's even useful to the giver, like I said. Giving creates more. Okay? You give more emotional joy, you're going to find yourself more joyous. Okay? At the level of charity, what you put out, you suck more of it in from your other side. Okay? From your soul side. What you give in this world, you suck more of it in through your soul side. Okay? And we all want to achieve this abundance on some level, on all levels. If you have it on just one level, you're doing great. And we achieve this abundance only through love, only through investing our energy in what is useful, only investing energy in others that's useful to them. If we achieve abundance without love, then you're the drunk billionaire at the poker table who just lost $5 million on a stupid gamble. There's people of that level of abundance who are losing millions of dollars a day just goofing off because they don't have love in their lives. They created that abundance, but it's not abundance. They have those possessions, but they have no abundance, but it didn't come from love. Okay? The other thing with abundance, I hope I don't forget this. Okay. The other thing with abundance is that when it comes from the giver's point of view, it's only love if it's useful. Giving charity to someone, like a friend of mine gave $100 to her friend. He gave the $100 to his ex-wife. She bought drugs on it. That's not useful. It wasn't useful to the guy she gave it to him. It wasn't useful to his wife. There's no love there. That's called enabling a drug addict. Okay? So we have to know how we're investing our abundance, because it's an investment. It's an investment of love for the universe. It's there with the hopes of, by you having something to get you where you need to go, you will cultivate abundance and give to the universe as well. And the world will become a more beautiful place. But if the charity is not being used, if it's not useful, if it's enabling, if it keeps a person stuck in a comfortable prison of comfort and fake love, if it's not useful, it's not charity. It's not love, so it's not charitable love. So the Jupiter person, meaning the abundant person, the person who's given the giving, has to always watch out, was my gift useful? Was the charity useful? And if not, they need to understand they have abundance, but they have limited resources. Meaning, even if they have all the abundance in the world, they're only going to be here 70 years. So it's like they have to say, okay, my charity doesn't work here. It's not useful here, so it's not love, so I won't do it. Let me look around and find where my charity is love, where it's useful. Okay? There's a really interesting story Yogananda talks about where he he was living in his ashram as much as his guru's ashram, Sri Yukteswar's ashram as much as possible. He had to go to school, and then he'd come back every moment he could to hang out with Sri Yukteswar. And a boy had joined who was super intelligent, had this deep thinking mind, who could pick up occult facts. And Sri Yukteswar, of course, was a really intellectual guru. He wasn't a bhakti. He was an incarnation of wisdom. He was an astrologer. He loved the occult, and he loved to think deeply, not just feel deeply. So he thought and felt God. He didn't just feel God like a bhakti would. And this one boy was super precocious, super intelligent, super talented, and he was Sri Yukteswar's favorite. And Sri Yukteswar loved this boy. And as this boy got older, he started sneaking out of the ashram to go drink and have sex. And he wouldn't stop. And Sri Yukteswar was brokenhearted by this, because this was his favorite pupil. He's like, this person has a mind like mine. This person's interested in thinking about cool things. He's not just here for God, but he wants to understand God. Not just love God, but wants to understand God like I want to understand God. But the kid goes out, he drinks, he has sex. And Sri Yukteswar realized that his abundance, given his abundance of wisdom, given his abundance of spiritual development, giving his spiritual energy to this kid, which he had abundant of, was not love. It wasn't useful to the kid. So he was almost crying, and he asked Yogananda. He said, I can't do it myself. He goes, if I tell him he has to leave, I won't be able to say it. He goes, please, Yogananda, tell this guy he has to leave the ashram. And, this is how hard it is to withdraw charitable love from somebody that you really see the potential in. Because see, we give our charitable love to those we see potential in. But if we realize it's not love because they don't use it, we have to stop. And sometimes it's that hard that Sri Yukteswar, an enlightened dude, has to hold his tear back and ask one of his disciples to kick the guy out of the ashram. It's very hard to take someone off, to take, the bottle out of someone's mouth when you see the potential there. But they're not ready to use it. They're not going to use it now. The thing about all love, it never has to do with potential. It has to do with usefulness. What we give someone today, well, if it works today, it's useful. If it's going to be useful in 20 years, we can give it to them in 20 years. It could be love in 20 years. But if it's not love now, we stop now. And so Sri Yukteswar did the hard love of Saturn. Love them and leave them. Okay? And he never had a disciple like that again. So, remember, charitable love, like any other love, is not about potentials. It's only about real usefulness right now. In the future, if that kid decided he didn't have sex and drugs more than the brain of Sri Yukteswar, he could come back. And Sri Yukteswar could have given it to him then. And if it was useful, he would have gladly given it to him. But the boy never came back. Okay? So that's a very important point when we give without receiving anything. Whether we give on a material level, on a spiritual level, or on an emotional level. If the love and care we're giving is not good for the person, if it's enabling them, or if they're not using it, if they're not growing because of it, they're not becoming better people because of it, if it's not making them feel better about themselves, you're wasting your abundance. And you need to find someone else, find something else to put your abundance towards so that the world becomes a better place. Okay? And that's where Mercury comes into play. Mercury is the foundation of charitable love. It does this in two ways. Mercury is the great differentiator. Mercury is the planet that goes, everything, everybody is a manifestation of God. So whether I give my abundance to this manifestation or this manifestation, what's the difference? None really. I'm giving my abundance so that God can manifest more beautifully as that life form. And so Mercury understands this, knows it can try to give abundance. And if the abundance is not useful, they can quit. No big deal. Mercury is the least committable planet. That's why if you have Mercury and Venus in the 7th or 10th house, you're going to have tons of sexual relationships. It's a yoga for multiple sexual relationships. Mercury and Venus in the 7th or 10th. And in the 7th, it's rare that Mercury and Venus conjunction will allow a person to get married. They usually don't end up married. The reason is because Mercury is like, why should I commit? I can have sex with Vishnu over here, and I can have sex with Vishnu over here, so why should I commit to you? Because then Vishnu over here will be mad at me because I don't have sex with him or her. So that's how Mercury works. He understands everything's just a differentiation of everything. So, that's important when it comes to who we give charity to. That it's a commitment as long as it works. It's a commitment as long as it furthers the person. And it's never going to work very long. Charitable love is never going to work very long. It's not supposed to work very long. So if you give materially to someone because they're in trouble, and they're like, thanks so much, you know, and then because they got that handout, they don't get a job next month, the charity has to end. If you continue to give them charity, they're just sitting on the couch binge watching Netflix instead of finding something to love, being useful in other people's lives, finding an occupation where they can be useful. So you see, you're enabling non-love. And so charitable love is always a short-term love. How do we know how long? As long as the person is making an effort to progress where they need to progress, charitable love is useful. But if they stop doing that because they got charity, it's no longer useful. One of the huge problems we have in the United States government is our government is so charitable that people find out ways to not work for 10 years. You know, they do. They're like not working for 10, 20, 30 years. Yes, we all have times where without charity, we are going to drown. I've had many times in my life where without a little charity, I was going to drown. You know, and it was very, very hard for me to accept charity. It's like I would be crying, like as I'm like receiving the charity. I just felt like, what's wrong with you? You can't even take care of yourself, you stupid idiot. And but I had no choice. It was take it or drown, you know. And we all need that time, but we never need it over and over again. We might need it for a year or two. So the giver has to observe that and say, okay, I see that my charity is no longer useful to you. So I withdraw my charity and I give my abundance to Vishnu, to God, in another form. Okay? So we need to have this discernment of Mercury, which is that I have lots of options. I have to put my energy, my abundance, into the best option, the winning horse. When Shikshashvar saw this boy's actions and realized the boy was fixed in that, he realized, given his abundance of wisdom, which he would never run out on, would be wasted. Because while he'll never run out of abundance of wisdom, he's only going to be here for 80 some years, or maybe 91 or something. So in the time he's spending with that boy, he needs to invest that time in another boy. It's important to understand that. No matter what your resources are, your time limits you. Your time limits your abundance. Even if you have more money than you can spend in your life, you don't have more years than you can spend money and give money away. Okay? So, keep that in mind. It's very important. And then you'll have abundance in your life. And the hardest thing, I think, for most of us when it comes to abundance is getting confused when we're giving charitable love or there's a secret part of us hoping to get a different kind of love out of it. Be clear in all the loves of your life. What love am I giving? Is it really love? Can I really give this without needing anything back? Okay, then it's halfway abundant love. Is the receiver using this in a way that's useful to them? Not destructive, not enabling. If so, this is charitable love. And the receiver has to recognize the humility that no one succeeds alone. I mean, even Rama needed the charity of the monkey army to win the war. You know? No one succeeds on their own. And so, that's a humble feeling. Yes, God is taking care of you. We need to embrace that. We're part of something bigger. So charity comes to keep us going forward, when otherwise we would fail. Okay? And it's important to receive those gifts when they're there. Okay? And if you find that it's not really a gift, and if you find the person really wants something else, realize it's not charity. And then say, thank you for your help. I no longer need it, even if you're starving. And let real charity come in. Because when you cut off false charity and you really need help, real charity will step in. But if you're dealing with false charity and struggling against manipulations and the person really just wants something from you, you're wasting your time when you can be receiving real charity. Okay? So those are the things we have to inquire about and observe when we deal with charitable love. Okay? It's like all loves, they're all beautiful, they're all bonding, they're all caring. I've given a lot of charitable love. And, sometimes these people thank me years later. I did all my readings on donation back in the day. I had people years later thank me, and if they paid me, they would have forgotten about me at that time. I had one guy who paid me $5 for 2 readings. He's like, I'm sorry, that's all I've got. I'm like, it's cool. It's on donation. I know you received more. He said, I got so much out of this and I have no more money in my wallet. Give me his last $5. I said, it's all right. But ironically, I had predicted he'll have a lot of money in a few years, like 3 or 4 years. And we both had a good laugh over that because we knew that wasn't possible. And 4 years later, when I needed charity, he actually called me up and he said, I started this gig. I'm making these videos on VHS and they're just selling like hotcakes. And I'm like, well, I'm rich, dude. He goes, I'm going to send you a check for the reading. I go, oh, you don't have to. And that was years ago. It was on donation. You paid your kid. He goes, no, I'm sending you this. I make so much money now. It's nothing to me. It's charity. And I really needed it. I was like drowning trying to buy diapers for my son. I was drowning in poop. Okay, and I get a check for $1,500. At that time, I was lucky to make that much in a month then. I was restarting everything in my life over, and buying diapers, and it's like saved the family. It really, really did at that time, and so it's a beautiful thing to support people and watch them become abundant. I love that guy because I gave him a meager charity and he rose to become a person who could give a big charity in just a few years. And it's such a wonderful thing to see charity be useful. Think of all the gurus with the spiritual charity they give. They're giving you spiritual energy out of their spiritual abundance so that your consciousness can rise. And they feel the same when their disciple becomes a Yogananda, the joy they have in witnessing that. So when we give charity, what we really just want to see, we just want to see that person be beautiful. We want to see that person live as themselves, be themselves, shine as themselves, have the opportunity to be themselves and succeed in it. And that's a huge gift of return whenever we give charity. Okay? So the receiver, receive it and use it. Don't squander it. If you squander charity, where else are you going to get helped? Because charity is what comes when nothing else is there. It comes in the times you should never even, it's like shocking,